What's unique about this fire is that it's not one fire. It has actually been five fires, and that is just unprecedented for those fires as well to all be concentrated in population centers, not just in the hillside.
To Los Angeles, where the city's mayor has said that winds and drought have created a perfect storm for wildfires that have left 5 people dead. Nearly 180,000 people have been told to evacuate LA County, with forecasters warning that more high winds might be on the way and could spread flames even further. Sean Mandell is a reporter in Los Angeles and joins me now. Sean, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on.
What's the mood in the city? How much fear, and in fact, how much faith do the authorities, do people have that the authorities can keep them safe?
Those two questions are separate and yet related. I think that there is a lot of fear. There's a lot of panic. Certainly, last night, I will say, there was a fire that broke out, the Sunset Fire, which thankfully has been 100% contained, been put out. That spurred a lot of consternation, panic, and fleeing when evacuation orders were issued very quickly. That took place in the hills of Hollywood and near West Hollywood in a place known as Runyon Canyon. And it's a popular hiking destination for locals and also for tourists. There was a lot of dry vegetation there, and it spread very quickly. But thankfully, firefighters were able to swoop in, also due to the fact that there weren't winds as strong as there had been the day before that prevented firefighters from using aircraft to combat these flames. That was not the case last night. So that meant that fire crews could go in with helicopters, scoop up water from reservoirs and dump that on those flames. And that did alleviate a lot of people's fears, but there was a traffic jam, I will say, on the streets of Hollywood and in that neighborhood of people trying to get out. People had go bags prepped, and thankfully nobody had to endure what the disaster could have been, other than what we do know, there were some homes destroyed, but it could have been so much worse.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that, man. And for people who don't know, Sean, in Los Angeles is a sprawl. It's a population of 3.8 or so million. And I'm just wondering how clear people are whether or not they're in the line of fire, and to what extent people are waiting for the authorities to tell them to go, and to what extent people are just preemptively leaving.
It is a sprawl. I think that's a very good point to bring up, because oftentimes anyone not familiar with LA, understandably, will hear Los Angeles fires and think that it affects the entire community. But it is such a massive area, not just of population, but of physical distance, of physical acreage, if you will. What's unique about this fire is that it's not one fire. It has actually been five fires, and that is just unprecedented for those fires as well to all be concentrated in population centers, not just in the hillsides. You have those areas where the fires start, but they have moved in to communities at such a rapid rate, particularly the Pacific Palisades, which is the neighborhood on the coast on the Pacific Ocean near Santa Monica, near Malibu. Malibu was also heavily hit, another popular tourist destination. And these places have been, Pacific Palisades is this historic community, but also a very luxe community, upmarket. A lot of celebrities live there, but of course also people that have lived there for 50, 60 years when it was not what it is today. Yeah. And it has been leveled. Sure. Completely destroyed. So people are waiting for these evacuation warnings, evacuation orders. From what I've gleaned, my friends and people I know and stories that I hear, people are being very proactive in terms of packing bags and being ready to go on a moment's notice. Some people are not wanting to leave until they absolutely have to, but when it becomes necessary, people are taking that action. There is concern, I think, about some of the information coming from authorities and the reporting and trying to decipher it all. But at the same time, there's so much going on. There are so many fires, and keeping track of it, whether you are a local news reporter or whether you are a member of the fire department, et cetera, it's a massive task ahead of them.
Right. And briefly on this final question, Sean, I mean, in the midst of this crisis, we've got Trump surrogates blaming the LA fire chief and its mayor, who are both female, of being incompetent DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion hires. And the man himself, Donald Trump, blaming Gavin Newsom, the governor of the state of California, of failing to learn the lessons of the huge fires of 6 years ago. Now, how much of that is cutting through?
Well, I think that I'll be frank, Donald Trump does not have a lot of does not have a lot of love in the Los Angeles community. Not to say that there aren't people who have voted for him, but this is not exactly a stronghold of Trump supporters, I will say. At the same time, I would provide an asterisk and say that people are frustrated with local governance and local officials, but they are pushing back on this sort of identity politics that Trump is trying to get into. And I think a lot of people, the conversations that they want to have are not about Donald Trump and President Biden. They want to be having a conversation about what's going on a micro level here in the city.
Sure.
You know, why aren't conversations about water mains being replaced and talking about water flow, et cetera? And those are valid questions. And there are, answers that can be given. But I think there's a communication issue here that is also dovetailing with potential management issues.
Sean, thank you very much indeed for your time. Sean Mandell, who's a reporter in Los Angeles. It's Henry Bonsu on Times Radio. It is 13 minutes